Okay, we are live. Isn't that wonderful? Um, how are you all doing? So, I have something quite scary to talk about, actually. It was in the news, and what can I say? You know, when these politicians, when they meet in their international meetings, and they kind of talk about the future of the world and in this case, Europe, um, you should listen to what they are saying because oftentimes they will say straight out what they are thinking and what they are planning. Um, and we will get to that. Let me just say hello to Angela. Good to have you here and good to have a moderator here. How do you like my new background? The sleeping bags are gone, and you have some bows and axes and stuff behind me there. And some of my, no, that will be this way. Many books. But okay. So the Norwegian Prime Minister Støre, he was visiting the site of uh, it was the D days. I don't know if celebration is the right word, but when um, they go to well, they in memory of those who died on D-Day. It's not a celebration, obviously. And in that context, he said that he believes that, and this is a quote, young people will be willing to sacrifice their lives again. Or, no, actually, the translation is more like young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again. And I think he said, I think. So I think young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again. That's what he said. And he was, in that context, they were talking about the threat from Russia, or rather the conflict between NATO countries and Russia and Russia's allies. Let's not forget that Russia is not alone. Russia has very powerful allies. That quote, um, not as clean audio. It's because I forgot. Sorry, my microphone. Okay. Does that help? Yeah. It really helps to have the microphone not behind me. Okay. So let's just say that, okay, I'll just repeat it briefly. Norwegian Prime Minister Støre, he said that while they were in memory of those who died on D-Day, he said, and I quote, I think young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again. That quote should scare you. That quote should scare you. First of all, it's a lie. Young people do not want to die. Obviously, they do not. Why would they? And the idea that, listen, this idea that they are trying to sell us that, oh, Russians, and I say Russians, because that's actually what they are trying to sell us now. Russians are the enemy. I don't think that young people are buying that, and they can see that that's an obvious lie. And I don't think that young people, when it comes to Ukraine, um, I think that what the narrative in media, and I'm not in any way defending the attack on Ukraine. I'm not doing that. But the narrative being fed to us through mainstream media, I don't think people are buying that. I I think when I talk to people, it's only old people, not disrespecting old people, but those people who are buying that narrative. I only find those people in the older demographic groups. I don't think I don't think I've ever talked to anyone my age and younger who are buying that narrative. Oh, we will win this by just waging war on Russia through Ukraine. More weapons, more money. I don't think anyone any longer are buying that narrative. Now they are preparing their populations, talking about prime ministers and presidents and so on. They are trying to prepare through their propaganda channels, which is mainstream media. They are trying to prepare the populations for war. And this is something that we have to fight. And we fight it through talking, we fight it through disobeying, we fight it through pointing at the facts. Now, they will use World War II as an example, and they will say, because of the sacrifice of uh, European uh, young people, we won and the Nazis lost. That I do not mean to disrespect all those who tragically died, their families, and everyone, all of those people who were injured in World War II. And one of my relatives was killed he was in the Norwegian resistance. Not disrespecting those, but if we look at the facts, it was a matter of the Third Reich losing against the Soviets. And that's so you had one regime losing against another regime, one evil losing against another evil, so to speak. And I know it's a simplification of what happened, but I think what I'm trying to say here is that we should not accept this narrative, this very dangerous narrative. Listen to what this fucker is saying. Excuse my language. He's saying, I think that young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again. Sacrifice their lives? I mean, this is a gradual thing. So if he had said that 10 years ago, he would not have been prime minister for very long. Okay. This is a gradual thing. They are changing the narrative gradually. And now they believe it's okay to suggest that you should go and sacrifice your life, be killed in war, fighting for some other countries in another country against people you've never met. You don't really understand the conflict, and that it's absurd. So, you know, this is dangerous, and the USA is no better at all. And Americans think that they're safe. Those crazy warmongering Europeans, and yes, you're right, they are warmongering. But the USA, look at the history. I'm sorry, but it's the same crap And it won't change anything that you have a MAGA president. It won't change anything. I'm sorry. The only thing that can change this is if people start disrespecting their authorities. Disrespecting their authorities. Because they do not deserve respect. When they are suggesting that young people or anyone should sacrifice their lives, they do not deserve respect. They only deserve disrespect. How do we fight this? We fight this by talking. We fight this by challenging these people, calling them out for what they are: warmongering, corrupt people. And we must disobey. Will there be consequences? Yes, I think that in the future, near future, there will be consequences. Yeah. But that's the price we have to pay. So, yeah. So I will get the usual comments when I talk about this, and I have an anti-war message, and I think that if you know history, you're not in support of war. If you know history, you understand that. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about this. If you know history, I will say that if you know history, you will not be in support of war. If you know history, you understand that war breeds war, conflict breeds conflict, and good changes are made not through war, but through coming together, negotiating if you have to, trade, international collaboration. And I'm not in support of the European Union. That's because that's a different topic altogether. But working together with other nations, other ethnic group, other economic systems, if you will, and war will not bring peace. War will not bring peace. And if you think that war brings peace, you do not know history. War creates a conflict that then becomes another war in the future. That's kind of what seems to happen. Okay, so and I think that I it's stupid, but I get some comments and, oh, you're a Viking, are you afraid of going to war? And people will write that in the comments. Oh, and I thought you were a Viking and now you're afraid of the Russians. I get, there are so many stupid people out there, and I will say that because I have been dealing with such an interesting time period as the Viking Age. I mean, I can use that as an argument against war. Obviously, I shouldn't really have to explain it, but there we go. There will be people listening to this who really don't understand. But anyway, and they don't want to understand. They just want to feel something. And when they feel something, they will look for facts or lies that support those feelings, and they will call it "do your own research." But that's not what they're doing. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah, well, the Joker, Says, I think the mass psychosis during a time like that probably makes the cough incident look like nothing. Yeah, I think the cough incident it it showed us many things, but two of the most important things it showed us was that, first of all, our governments, the authorities, do not care about you. They care about upholding the system and themselves. They do not care about you. Okay? Your well being, they do not care about your well being. They care about the system. They care about staying in positions of power. So that's one. And the other thing is that it's another thing it showed us is that the populations themselves, people, normal people, most normal people, they will be obedient. They will be obedient. They will line up. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit. Yeah, I'll try to reframe what I was thinking, but yeah, they will line up to get a cough medicine, even though they know it's not good for them, because that's what everyone is doing, right? And they will keep standing in line when they are carrying out people that just drop to the floor in having cramps. They will keep their place in the queue. And that was a wake up call, and for us, I think, and I think also that what it taught governments and those people in positions of power who should not be in positions of power, what it taught them was that they can send people into war. They can do that because people will obey. They will line up. And their officers will be pointing their guns at their backs when they are storming towards the enemy. That's how it's always been. So they are feeding us this narrative of an enemy. And if you are in Scandinavia now, the enemy is Russia. It's such a strange thing because I've up through the years I met several people from Russia. You kind of wouldn't know that they are from Russia because they speak perfect Norwegian. They look like any other Norwegian, and they are generally, I would say, Russians are generally cultured and nice people. And I've been to Russia, and I do not view Russians as enemies. But they have the same thing going on, right? They are also obedient. They are also told that the enemy is the West. And the majority of the population there, they believe that. Just as we believe, not we, but the majority of the population here believe that the Russians are the enemy. So that's what I'm saying. And I keep saying that we must not listen to these people, the politicians, people in positions of power, mainstream media. We, the people, must not obey. We must disobey. This is very important. And if we all did that, or rather refused to do that, obeying, that is, we wouldn't have wars, actually. And people, I always say, people in the comments, people will be writing in the comments, oh, don't you think you won't have wars if, no, there will always be wars? No. Don't you, people need to realize that wars, that's a recent thing in human history. It's something that probably started when with the agricultural revolution, when people settled, they became they were no longer hunter gatherers, but they established large farms and communities. That's when wars started. Before that, you had the occasional tribal conflict, but not wars, you know. So, hi Carola. I'm sorry that I don't know why YouTube is deleting your comments. I don't know what's going on. I'm not doing it. The moderators are not doing it. So let's see here. Let's get to the comments. Well, these live streams, if I'm planning on stopping these live streams. Now, I'm not planning on stopping these live streams, but I think for me personally, YouTube being YouTube, what YouTube is now means that most people will not be notified when I do these live streams. So that's just how it works now on YouTube, and I think there's a reason why so many people are quitting YouTube, and it's YouTube itself. Well, YouTube is a reflection of people, I guess. People in general. YouTube is an interesting animal. And I think what's going on now is the AI apocalypse, of course, and yeah, for me, you know, there needs to be some money in it. You know, it would be nice to pay for the microphone I'm talking to, doing these live streams. At the moment, it's not. It's just laughable. So no, I don't think it's shadow banning. I think it's just that I honestly don't know what's going on with YouTube now, except that AI is ruining the platform. It is. It really, really is. So the platform is being flooded by AI videos. And if you look at the views they are getting, very high views. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, there is hardly any money in doing these live streams. And, you know, it's fair. YouTube, I'm not complaining. It's okay. It's okay. I never counted on there being any money in YouTube at all. But also, I am trying to protect my peace, trying to protect my peace and quiet. And the things I feel like talking about seems to attract some very hateful people. I see it in the comments section sometimes, and I don't like that. I don't like that. So yeah, when it comes to AI, how to spot AI, I think, and if you're interested, okay, I'll try to respond because people here are asking. So AI can be used in the video, and it can be used in the thumbnail. So most people are not thinking about the thumbnail thing. But let me tell you, do you know how difficult it is, especially for me doing Viking videos on the main channel? Do you know how difficult it is to make a thumbnail that can compete with those fucking AI thumbnails out there? It is very difficult because I can't go to a Viking village every time I'm making a video. I can't have a longship behind me on the thumbnail. I can't present those visuals that the AI thumbnail are presenting. So what you will see is an AI generated thumbnail or an AI generated background and some fucker in front of it. Excuse my language. I'm cursing a lot this morning. And that's your AI. And if you click on it, which you shouldn't, you will see some guy sitting in the studio like I'm doing now, talking, using his teleprompter with the facts that he got from Wikipedia. That's the video. But he gets the click, you know. And when he gets the click, I don't. And what seems to happen is that they click on that video with the interesting AI-generated thumbnail, and that's their one click on a Viking video that day. And then that means that I don't get a click because that's just one guy in Viking clothes out in the woods or by my Viking cabin that I actually built with good help from another YouTuber called Berserker Gang 2019, by the way. So that's one thing. And if everyone refused to click on AI generated thumbnails, I mean, it would change my YouTube presence dramatically. I'm talking about the main channel. Here on this channel, I don't even make thumbnails. So when it comes to the videos, AI videos, those are, I guess, something that people are more aware of. But you know how you now have how these videos where they interview people in a medieval village, right? Now, someone saying that AI is it's just a tool thing. It's a human creation. Well, it's different because it's generating content. A tractor is not generating content. It's making harvesting more easy and faster. AI is generating content. So there's a difference there. The problem, except the ethical aspects of it, when you have those videos, is that it changes your perception of the past. Now, if you look at those AI videos, and again, you shouldn't, and if you know what you're about, if you know your stuff, you will see that there are so many errors in the video, things that did not exist back then. And these details matter. These details matter. Now, it's called AI slop, and you have some ridiculous stuff, of course, which is easy to recognize, but the details matter as well, and AI, the people making these videos or having AI make those videos, they don't know what they're about. They don't know about Viking history. They don't know about medieval history. They don't know anything. So it changes history and that's a problem. Okay, that I believe it's a problem. So yeah, Mr. Beast, yeah, he made this app, I think, where you could basically just take any thumbnail and replace the face or the figure of the person with yourself. There was a backlash, and as it should be. But I'm sure there are other software applications out there that can do the same. Yeah. So that's my little AI segment. And when it comes to these live streams, I'll keep doing them, but I must focus on my work, which is writing books. That's my job. This is not my job, So, yeah. Well, when it comes to AI, when they are interviewing people from a medieval village, and when they are, it's kind of I would say that what you are missing, what is missing is the perception of how hard life was. People back then did not look that nice, okay? I'm not saying that they were missing all their teeth or anything like that, but it was a difficult life. Okay, and so the women walking around in a medieval village, they didn't wear makeup. They didn't have a nice hairdo, and their shirt was probably not completely, and dress was probably not completely clean, because they washed their clothes once a week, and they didn't have that many different clothes. Mike Rock is asking about AI, Google, when you do a search. I try not to use Google when I do searches on the internet. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. So I'll keep doing these live streams now and then. But YouTube is not what it used to be. And I've noticed that what is now considered high views, many views on a video, is what used to be just a couple of years ago considered low views. And people will say, "Oh, I got 50. This guy got 50,000 views on a video," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of what I need on a weekly basis to have a bare minimum of views on my channel." It used to be a lot more. Yeah, the Viking content, if we are talking about YouTube here now, and the Viking content on the main channel, I will be continuing that. I enjoy that. And yeah, so, I mean, when it comes to commenting on things in society, I think most I'll mostly do that here. Don't rush over to my main channel and unsubscribe, please. Yeah, I'm not going to go to another platform, because what that means is that if I do that, I remove traffic from YouTube, and that's the worst thing you can do when it comes to the algorithm. Did the Vikings ever reach a land called Poland now? Yes. Yes, of course. That was part of the Viking world. Yeah. So, okay. Let's see if there are other questions here. Yeah, Carola says, if AI would do the work we don't like, laundry, cleaning, whatever, but it makes the creative stuff, that art. Yeah, art makes us human. Yeah, and AI art has no value. It's not art. Yes, Donald, many use multi-platforms. It's never worked for me. It has never worked for me. Actually, sours, they did stay in Canada for quite a while, much longer than people realize, actually. That is the Norse. No, I haven't seen Shining Knuckles. I haven't seen any news from Idaho. Yeah, I think I am on BitChute. It's an automatic upload thing, I think. I don't check in on BitChute. It's a cesspool of some quite horrible people. Yeah. Okay. Now, back to the topic here. I think that when world leaders are talking about war, and they are saying, like the Norwegian Prime Minister Støre said recently, that, I quote, I think young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again. When you observe that, and when you hear them saying that, it's time to remove those people from positions of power, because they have, and I'm not condoning violence. That's not what I'm saying. But when they use such words, they, in my opinion, have shown themselves not trustworthy. Okay, so or rather, what I'm trying to say is that it should not be possible for governments to send people to wars. That is my opinion. The same, I also think that no governments should have the right to kill people. So no government should have that amount of power. So I'm against the death penalty. I know that it's not a popular opinion to have, especially when it comes to people in the USA don't like me having that opinion. But I get that there are some really evil, horrible people out there. But the principle here is that no government should have the power to kill people. That's too much power. And war is obviously a way to do that. I'm not saying they are doing that intentionally, but they are talking about sacrifice, but it's never they themselves that are to be sacrificed. It's always the people, especially young people. How sick is that? If you are going to send someone to war, send people like me. Well, don't do that, but um, I already have had children. My bloodline is secured, and I I just think it's such an evil, destructive thing to do, to send an 18 or 20-year-old boy or girl to war. It's just wrong. But that's what they are talking about. That seems to be what they want to do. Now, if you go to Ukraine and you look at the real numbers, not talking about the numbers coming from the Russian propaganda machines, but the real numbers from Western European polls. Are they in support? Are Ukrainians in support of continuing the war? Or are they in support of giving up land if that means that the war will end? You can go and research those numbers yourself, and I think some people out there will be surprised. And I saw an interview with a soldier, a woman actually, the other day, and she said that people are so tired of the war now, and they had hope when with the new administration in the USA that the war would end. So did I. But she said then the Europeans came in and messed with that, so there will be no peace. That's what she said. I'm not saying it. She said that. Um, and the crazy part is that when I say what I'm saying now, I'm considered extreme. I'm considered. Some people will say, "Oh, you're just listening to Russian propaganda." You listen to those people who want to write that in the comments. Do you realize that there is something called Western propaganda as well? Both sides are using propaganda. Let that sink in, please. Do I believe that the narrative in Russia is true? Obviously not. Do I believe that the narrative in mainstream media is true? Obviously not. Why don't we listen to people in Ukraine, for instance? Why we can start with that, Only, that when this whole thing started, the one thing that made me realize that, oh, this is not black and white, is it? Is that the Zelensky government, they made it illegal for men, to leave the country. And it was excused. And they said, oh, they have to do that, They have to do that to defend the borders. Well, they couldn't defend the borders, obviously not. And when you do that, when you refuse people to leave the country, you take away their freedom. And that's in conflict with basic human rights. So there is no hero here. If you go to Russia and people should be told that, Putin is not the hero. He's not. He is not the hero. Even though many people there, especially the older generation, they think that he's the best thing ever. And you know what? Zelensky is not a hero either. So, and those who want to call me a Putin puppet for saying that, you can all fuck off. So, well, Tommy, welcome as a member to the channel, or is that an upgrade, or you have been here for a while, is it? I can't really see the symbol there, but thank you. Oh, when do you think my cursing is cute? That is cute. You should hear the Norwegian version of that. That I don't think you would feel is so cute. Okay. Now, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. We're having an election coming up here in Norway this autumn. And I feel like I should vote this time, but, who do you vote for? It's difficult. I can't vote for any political party that was in support of the distribution of Billy Bob's cough medicine. So that rules out almost all political parties. If there's any of them left, I can't vote for a political party that is in support of the European war machine being going on, oiling the wheels of the European war machine. So both whole says that's a very weak argument, Bjorn. I don't know what you're talking about. But you clearly have no respect. You can't come here like that. So that's why you will be gone. I'll put in a timeout. You can think about your ways. Yeah. What else is there? Yeah, we could talk about the criminal system that is the Norwegian royal family. That would make me even more popular. But yeah, a lot of resources are being spent in Norway now to make life easier for the serial rapist, which is the son of the Norwegian future princess. No, the queen, the future queen, wife of the prince, her son, one of her sons. He's a serial rapist, and there's a case in court now, and yeah, nobody's talking about how when police got there, to his luxurious apartment, the queen herself had been there to clean up the place. Can you imagine? We have a queen, no, not the queen, sorry, the princess, queen to be. We have a queen to be who was mopping and vacuum cleaning and tidying up her son's apartment. I say apartment, it's basically a luxurious house. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Nobody's talking about that, but isn't it? I'm so glad that we have such a down to earth queen to be, who can vacuum clean and tidy up and all of that, so that when the police arrives to arrest her son, everything is clean and nice and tidy and presentable, and all tracks and evidence is removed. Did I say that last part out loud, or did I just think it? Nobody's talking about that. Can't talk about that. Oh, it's just a comedy show, isn't it? And it's just such a shame that they have all these victims. These people, it's the same shit that goes on in governments and in royal families, the whole system. It's these people are, you know who they care about? They care about themselves. And I'm starting to believe that if you stay in a comfortable way in such in positions of such immense power and wealth, if you're comfortable with that, there's got to be something wrong with you. There's got to be something wrong with you. And you think it's okay to go there to tidy up your son's drug nest, to remove evidence, and you're the fucking future queen of Norway. And that's what you do. And you do it because you know you'll get away with it. It's actually punishable by law, but everyone knows that there will be no consequences. So, um, you know, and when you can, like the Prime Minister of Norway, when you can say that, and I quote, "I think young people are willing to sacrifice their lives again." I will say this to Mr. Støre: fuck you. I oppose that with everything. No government should have the right to send people to die. That's my opinion. Oh, what if your country is being invaded then? What and these people will say, "Oh, what will you do since you're such a pacifist? What will you do when the enemy is breaking into your house?" And well, I would. It's fashionable to say unalive those people, obviously. But I couldn't do that if I was at the front fighting a useless, meaningless war for the government. I wouldn't be in my home then when the enemy breaks through the door. I wouldn't be there. So that's a stupid argument being used by stupid people. So, yeah, the problem is that with Støre, that he's a Labour Party person. The alternative is the fat old lady. What's her name? Solberg. She's just the same. She's just the same. She's just the same. If these people want war so much, if they think that it's the duty, it's our duty to go to the front line and fight the Russians in a war that, and it must be said, has been provoked. That must be said. Now, I'm not saying that to defend the attack on Ukraine, but also it's obvious that many of the actions of the West have been provoking. But that's not what we're supposed to say. NATO has never done anything wrong, and Russia is an evil empire. That's what we're supposed to say. No, NATO is imperialist. Russia is imperialist, and that's what happens is that where those two meet, there will be conflict. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm not saying that NATO are the terrorists, but I can promise you that if you were in one of those many countries that has been bombed, where civilians has been bombed by NATO, you would feel that NATO is the terrorist. If you were sitting there hiding, trying to survive when the bombs fell, you would feel that NATO are terrorists. I'm sorry, that's just how it works. Yeah. No, why don't these people who want war so much, why don't they go first? Why don't they go first? Oh, but they can't because they're old. Well, they are Mr. Zelensky in Ukraine, he forced people my age to the front line, people older than him. So, I mean, yeah. Why don't Stöd and Solberg go hand in hand towards into the hail of bullets? Why don't they do that if they want war so much? But no, much better, isn't it, to have 20-year-old people who haven't even started a family, boys and girls, my kids' age, sent to the front line to have their legs blown off. Much better. And I'll keep saying this, okay? Nothing is solved through war, and wars should be avoided. And they are avoided through trade, through collaboration, through cultural collaboration, through sports, through travel. And when I hear the argument that, oh no, we can't collaborate with Russia because it's an evil dictator state. Yeah, there is no democracy in Russia, and they have a dictator called Putin. That is true. But that seems to be, I mean, when people say that no, we can't work with countries like that because they are non-democratic countries. Listen, we in the West, we work with dictator states all the time. Saudi Arabia, that's one. China, that's another one. I have many other examples. So that's obviously not a problem. I talked about the Norwegian royal family. There are pictures of them having a nice dinner with, the Saudis, the king and the prince there. I can't remember their names, but so that's obviously not a problem. Okay. Got a bit heated, this one. Yeah. Ricardo says, I'm a young guy in the Norwegian Armed Forces. I would 100% sacrifice myself for Norway, but not in another theater of war than Norway. I'm sorry to tell you this, Ricardo, but it's not up to you to decide. Because you are in the army, you will be commanded to fight wherever they want you to fight. And they don't care about what you are fighting for. They will tell you you're fighting for the Norwegian country and the Norwegian king. But I think maybe it's easier to write that you would 100% sacrifice yourself. It's easier to write that than to actually do it. And I hope you'll never, ever get in a situation where that is the option. And with those words, I will be ending this live stream. And got a bit heated, got a bit sad, this one. But try to stay positive out there and stay respectful.